Good evening, intuitives, and welcome new subscribers. If you are new to the channel, please check out my older videos. They're just as entertaining, especially if you entertained when I lose my place or forget what I'm talking about, because there's a lot more of that. Yeah, I know, I check my mic every time. I never turn it off, but I don't want to miss it. So, as I've discussed in earlier videos, narcissists, their sense of entitlement, their arrogance, their views that the rules don't apply to them, many of them act like self-declared royalty. Certainly, many in my family. However, what could be worse than a narcissist who acts like royalty? A narcissist that is royalty, such as it were. I don't know. I don't know why we have royalty in this day and age, to be honest. But we do in certain countries, and I have the perfect example of the arrogance and entitlement of a royal narcissist. And yes, of course, since you saw the thumbnail, I am speaking about the loathsome, smug, degenerate fraud Andrew Windsor, who he will be referred to as Andrew Windsor, because even if one does support monarchical structures, titles can be taken away, and certainly his actions warrant titles being taken away. But he was also a golden child because he was Mummy Liz's favorite, but Mummy's dead. Yeah, so she can't protect him no more, and hopefully Big Brother don't like him too much, and he's king now, so ain't nothing he can do about it. And I think I think William likes him even less. Yeah, I really do. They're kind of focused on Harry and Meghan, which, if they're telling the truth, tell the truth. Unless the royal family can be like, wait a minute, this didn't happen. You weren't at this event in Hampstead. You were in Paris, and here's the proof. Yeah, then that's a problem. Then it's lies. But if he's telling the truth, narcissistic families don't like when you air their dirty laundry. But if it's true, it's true. But nonetheless, what is known about Andrew Windsor is true, and yet he's kind of given a pass. Why? Well, baby boomer privilege, perhaps. But on top of royal privilege and money privilege and white privilege and male privilege, he's got it all. No, except thin privilege, fat. So, the arrogance of Andrew Windsor. So I'm sure most of you are familiar with the, loathsome former prince's close friendship, that's been documented in photographs, with Jeffrey Epstein, a friend who he regularly would defend, and also Ghislaine Maxwell, their society and all, sex slaves are just part of society. It's all right. It's all divine right. Once upon a time, an ancestor of mine did something. Don't you know who gave birth to me? Yes, she's dead. But it does kind of make one rethink the queen, knowing that Andrew was the golden child, when it's clear that Anne's the one with the most integrity of all of them. But she wasn't born first, and she's a girl, so the hell with her. So Andrew Windsor, in his dalliances at the various, Sodom and Gomorrah-esque residential places of Jeffrey Epstein, was known to, molest and buy via Epstein for tens of thousands of dollars sexual encounters with women under the age of 18 in the United States, which is illegal. No matter what lady thinks Andrew can do no wrong. I can't remember her name. I want to say Diana, but that's not it. It's some blonde chick he used to date who's just the most loathsome creature I've seen defending him, because basically in her mind, he's a prince, so he can do no wrong, and the rules don't apply to them. It's kind of the point of this video. So, it's proven what he did. Well, not necessarily proven. There was a civil case. He settled it. You only settle cases when you're going to lose. Trust me. My Arlington settled mine. So this was millions of dollars too. And here's the arrogance of Andrew Windsor. He claims over and over again, it's on TV in his own words, that he never met Roberts, which was the woman's last name at the time these events took place, because she was unmarried at the time. So he claims he never met Ms. Roberts, yet there's a photograph of them together, a photograph that has been, you know, gone over by the top agencies and proven to be true. Kind of hard to say you don't know him, huh? Don't know her, rather. Yeah. But in his interview, in the most smug, out-of-touch way possible, Andrew Windsor, in full narcissism, claims he didn't know the woman. Claims that, you know, he went to see Epstein in 2010 to say that, you know, I cannot be friends with you. It does not look good for the family. But then he stayed 4 days. Yeah, kind of longest breakup I've ever gotten. My ex just ghosted me. And then came to me for help and tried to call the cops for making a video for her that called a borderline, even though that borderline proudly calls themselves a borderline, but because she's pseudo royalty, you can't call out her abuse and actions. I don't know. The rules change here every other day. So he's in New York, he does that, and he's in this infamous interview. And the excuses he made that he actually thinks people should believe, because I am a prince. He thinks no matter what he says, it's true because he's saying it. That is textbook narcissism. So he claims, you know, Roberts gave I guess a deposition about them in a club in London and him sweating. And he's like, but I do not sweat. And this is how loathsome he is. And a lot of people miss this. He tried to reform his image in this interview by playing the hero card. Because wait to hear what a crock this is. So I do not sweat because I was in the Falklands and I was shot at and I had an adrenaline overdose that caused me not to sweat, at least for a time. I sweat now. So the Falklands was in the early 80s. So this, you know, oh, so you magically didn't sweat. This event's happened in the 2000s with Roberts. You didn't sweat for 20 some years, but now you do. Also, such a thing as an adrenaline overdose, causing somebody not to sweat, is not a thing. It medically doesn't exist. And also, if it can be caused by an adrenaline overdose, such as getting shot at, don't you think plenty of cops and firefighters who go into dangerous situations all the time, and, you know, not just once in their youth, but do it for 20, 30 years, would have such a condition? Or perhaps someone who's, you know, seen people die in ambulances, been a firefighter, and not only has been shot at, but actually took a bullet. But I sweat like every other Italian American. Bad. So, but he actually thought that's the arrogance, that's the entitlement. Like, oh no, I say it's true, therefore it's true. Don't you know who I am? Brit wouldn't say, don't you know who I am? He'd do something more posh. But regardless, yeah, that was actually his excuse. And he had the loathsome manner to try to play the hero card, like, I was in the Falklands. Yeah, and Maggie Thatcher's little war. But, yeah. Yeah, that. And, of course, the picture's not real. It doesn't look like his hand. Really, really, really. But yet, not only are you and her in the picture, it's been proven real, but the picture was taken at your friend's apartment. It was Ghislaine Maxwell's apartment, who's also in the picture. It's like, not real. You've been spotted at this place before. You've admitted to knowing that woman. But just this time, they made a set. They made a movie set just to set you up because you're so important. You're not, well, he isn't in line to be the throne, but he's way down there. So, yeah. Actually thought people believed him. And then the grandiosity of this narcissist as well. There's also another interview with a former Met policeman who, for a time, was one of the guards at the palace. And they said Andrew Windsor used to keep 72 teddy bears on his bed, you know, and had a picture of how they had to be specifically arranged every day, and would have freakouts on the maid staff when they weren't arranged just right, and went off about, you know, who he is and what a privilege it is to serve him. Is that not narcissistic at all? And to be fair, it's not even tied into like, oh, well, that's just how royals are, because his father, you know, the prince consort, the coolest job any royal could ever have. That'd be a cool job to have. Prince consort to some chick you're in love with who's powerful. I think I'd be good at that, depending on who the queen was. I'll give you one guess. But, you know, Anyway, Prince Philip wasn't really like that that much into the royal stuff. That's why he didn't have a big funeral. He was known for his gaffe, but I'm just saying it's not inherent with the titles. It's Andrew who likes his titles and likes to think he's very big and important. So much so that because the Narcissist is all about grandiosity and appearance and look at me. So when Philip died, I guess it's typical for royal funerals to wear your military dress because they all serve in the military for a time. And he was in the Navy, and I think he was an officer, obviously, and became either a lieutenant commander or commander. But then for his birthday, two of them, Mummy gave him ceremonial promotion so he could wear a cooler costume with more stripes. And he literally had a meltdown to his mother because, he wanted to dress as an admiral for his father's funeral. Well, he never worked as an admiral. Yeah, he was a commander. He didn't dress as a commander, dressed as a commander. That would be like a firefighter who, is the rank of firefighter. It's like, you know what? I want to dress as a battalion chief today. Doesn't work that way. Actually, you have to get those promotions. But yeah, insisted on dressing as an admiral, rank he never achieved, to his father's funeral, even though he had disgraced the family and cost millions of dollars in money. Yeah, but alas, Andrew Windsor, craving the spotlight and craving the adulation of people who should despise him, wants to get back in public life. So like a true narcissist, everything's about him. Usually the royal family is all about like the image of the royal family because they know they have no real purpose other than ceremonial and tourism money. So they know they can be done away with. So they kind of try to close ranks and be like, we gotta somehow find a way to justify this institution still. But Andrew's just like, I miss walking around as a prince. So he wants to be back in the spotlight and make it all about him. Because that's what narcissists do. Yeah. So there is, I would say, nothing more loathsome than a narcissist who was born into privilege and titles, who has the arrogance that anything they say is true, that believe they can treat people however they want, that laws don't apply to them simply because of some ceremonial title. I can rape your children. I'm the 17th Earl of Wessex. Huh? It doesn't care. I know, a little American humor because we have guns. Anyway, guns don't care if you're famous or royalty, by the way. Just ask JFK or John Lennon. Can't. Someone shot them. That's why they're the great equalizer. So yes, example that even amongst ancient institutions known for their poshness and tradition and decorum, that the most loathsome of narcissists can exist and cannot and should not be defended. They should be judged like anyone else because these are actions they chose to do of their own free will like any other adult. So treat Andrew Windsor the same as you would the scoundrel down at the pub who creeps on young women. Why not? Why does he get it fast? He doesn't. So yes, if you were wondering what's the most privileged and entitled, arrogant narcissist that I'm aware of, at least living, it's Andrew Windsor.